welcome to a new edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking a look at the puzzle on the screen, which is by Finish Guy. Now, I have done a puzzle by Finish Guy before, and I think it was a long time ago, but I do remember that it was really interesting. It had some very unusual logic in it. Now, this puzzle's called Mystery Killer N, I think because we've got all these N cages in the grid. So yeah, the testing reports on this are that it's a brilliant puzzle. So as usual, we should be in for a treat. We've got some very interesting little killer clues as well, skirting the grid there. So I'll read you the rules of this one in just a second. I don't actually have much to tell you today, really just an appeal. Our statistics on the channel tell us that lots and lots of people watch the videos who aren't subscribed. So if you do enjoy the videos, do consider subscribing. We'd really appreciate it. And maybe for some of you out there, you might want to consider becoming a patron of the channel as well. That's a couple of bucks a month, and we put all sorts of extra content over there, and it is the best Sudoku club on earth, and we're very grateful to the thousands of you who support us over there already. Now, all that said and done, why don't we just kick off with the rules of this one? They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Cells in cages must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage. The number n must be determined by the solver. So there are loads of, there's sort of a big lattice in the grid made up of cages. Let's highlight those. Now, some of these killer cages are normal, like that one adds up to 7, so that could be a 3 and a 4 or something like that. But loads of them sum to this mystery digit that we're going to have to work out. In fact, look, it's those ones that form a sort of figure 8 on its side down the grid. Yeah, so this is going to be the key, I suspect. Clues outside the grid indicate the sum of the digits along the indicated diagonal. So those two squares sum up to 4, these to 16, those to 17, and those to 3. Very interesting choices of these digits. Cells separated by a white dot must contain consecutive digits. So we've got a domino there separated by a white dot. So if this was a 1, this would have to be a 2 to make sure they're consecutive. If this was a 3, this could be a 2 or a 4. Just have to make sure it's consecutive with 3. The grey lines are palindromes, which must read the same forwards and backwards. So we've got a short stubby palindrome there, which is basically just telling us that those two digits must be the same. This one, the C-shaped one, is much more potent. So that's telling us this digit has to be the same as that digit. This digit has to be the same as that digit, etc. So that if we were to fill the palindrome in, you can see I've already got it wrong there. That would be one way of filling this palindrome, although you can see immediately that is breaking n, because all of these n's would add up to different things. But in theory, just looking at the palindrome, if we read it from this direction, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if we read it from this direction, it also goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it reads the same. Excuse me. It reads the same forwards and backwards. Now, do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play, as usual, is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the first thing I'm going to do, I think, is to label up these little killer clues, which all seem to me to be, well, we don't know the order, but we do know exactly what digits go along these diagonals. So, no, I was about to say, now, yeah, okay, so we know there's a 9 in those two cells, and we know there's a 9 in those two cells. And similarly at the top, there's a 1 in those two cells and a 1 in those two cells. So that means, if we think about a facetious question, like how many 9s are there in row 9 of this grid? Well, there's exactly 1 9. How many 9s are there in row 8 of the grid? Well, there's exactly 1 9. So that means in these two rows, altogether, there are 2 9s. But we know in these 4 dominoes, there are 2 9s. So there can't be any 9s in any of those squares. And similarly, there can't be any 1s in any of those cells. So this 7 domino now must either be 2 5 or 3 4. It can't be a 1 6. Oh, there's a 3 clue there, so that's a 1 2 pair. We've got a 13 clue here, which can't have an 8 9 in its lower position. Yeah, that's a bit less worthy of pencil marking, I suspect. The 12 also doesn't seem to be useful. Right, let's check this. This is weird, actually. What are we learning here? I'm just trying to work out whether I should be thinking about n or thinking about the palindrome. From a palindromic point of view, those two digits are the same. These two digits are the same. Here's a subtlety. Is that true? Yeah, it is. So this digit here, because of the palindrome, it's the same as that digit there. But the weird thing here is that this digit and this digit must be the same, not by palindromic logic, but by n logic. Because let's imagine n was 8, and that these two digits are the same. So let's make those 2. You can see these have to both be 6. So that means these two digits are the same. But we also know from the palindrome that that's the same as that. So these 3 digits are all the same digits. And therefore that must be green. Oh, this is weird. So we're getting like a cycle coming around here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh no, sorry, I'm miscounting the palindrome here. I'm miscounting it, aren't I? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that is also purple. So that must also be green by the logic of n. So now let me just double check this palindrome makes sense. It does. This is the central digit on it. So this palindrome contains only 2 different digits. So n, oh no. I was about to say, well, it's true, isn't it? N can't have a 1, a 2, a 7 or a 9 on it now. Because either purple and green see 7, 9 and 1 and 2. So the digits that make up n are 3, 4, 5, 6 and 8. 3, 4, 5. So n is a minimum of 7. So what does that mean? So n, how on earth do you make more progress than we have already? Thing is, if n was 8, for example, this n would be adding to 8. I know those 2 digits are the same. That's not really telling me anything. It's telling me those digits have to appear in one of those 3 digits. It's not saying that these have to be green or purple at all. You know, if this was a 2-6 pair, that could be a 1-7 pair, providing it was in the right order, or it could be a 3-5 pair. So we know that those 2 digits are the same, and therefore we know these 2 digits are the same. By n logic, that is. So are we meant to prove, perhaps, that blue and orange are not the same as green and purple? But how can we do that when they don't? There doesn't seem to be any connection between these cages. What on earth do we do with this? Sorry, I am not seeing this at all. Which normally means it's set, doesn't it? Set is the thing I always go to when I haven't got a clue how to proceed. I haven't got a clue. I definitely haven't got a clue how to proceed here. There's nothing in this grid. But I'm not actually sure. If we're using set and we're going to try and include how are we going to use set to make this make any sense at all? Is the idea that we try and get sort of these digits in a different set to those digits? I'm just going to take a look at that. This is all getting it's getting horrible. In fact, I think to look at this without going crazy, what I might do is duplicate the tab, if that's all right. So if I duplicate this and then we restart the puzzle, then we can have a look at this without the risk of polluting our earlier colouring. So what I'm just wondering is whether if we were to draw sets like this, we can figure out anything interesting. So we can take out the digits in common, and you can see that it is a bit interesting. There's all sorts of n cancelling that's possible. Is this worth it? I'm just wondering if I should stop here and explain what I'm doing. In fact, yeah, look, all the n's do cancel. Are all the n's 1, 2? I've got 4 n's in red. Yes, and I have got 4 n's in, yeah, okay, I'm prepared to believe this. So let me explain what I'm doing. So what I did firstly was highlight rows 2, 5 and 8. Now, I can describe absolutely precisely what the digits are that are now yellow in this grid. Because there are 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. In any row, I'll have all of the digits 1 to 9 once each. So the yellow cells are 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9 in some order. So let's imagine that we write those digits onto Scrabble tiles, 27 Scrabble tiles, and I scribble all of these digits onto those Scrabble tiles and put them in a bag. And I don't have to worry about the order of them, because I know that there are going to be 3-digit 1s, 3-digit 2s, 3-digit 3s, etc. So my yellow bag is replete and complete now. Now I want to do the same with some red Scrabble tiles. So I'm going to do it in columns 2, 5 and 8. So I'm going to put 27 red Scrabble tiles in a red bag, and there's going to be 3-digit 1s, 3-digit 2s, etc, etc. So at the moment, the bags have exactly the same digits in them, and therefore both bags add up to the same number. If we were to add all the Scrabble tiles in the yellow bag, we'd actually get 3 lots of 45, because one set of the digits 1 to 9 adds up to 45 because of the secret, which is something I only tell my favourite people. So that would be 135. So both bags at the moment add up to 135. But what we can now do is start removing certain tiles from both bags. So whatever digits are correspond with those 2 tiles there will add up to the same number as those 2 tiles in the yellow bag. So if I go into the red bag and find the tiles corresponding to these 2 cells, and I go in the yellow bag and find the tiles corresponding to those 2 cells, and I take them out of both bags, like that, then both bags still add up to the same number, because I've removed this. They added up to the same number before I did anything, and I've just removed cells totaling the same number from both bags. But look, I can do this for all of the n's. Every n has a pair. Now, I can also do it for all of the cells here that have both a yellow and a red flash. This digit must be in the yellow bag and the red bag, so I can remove it from both. The same is true for all of these intersections, look. So all of those come out. Right, now this is where it's going to get awkward, isn't it? So, okay, so now at this point we know that the red and the yellow digits add up to the same number. And now we've got weirdnesses going on, because the 2 yellow cages here add up to 10, but the 2 red cages add up to 25. So if we were to remove these cells from the red and the yellow bag, we would know that we're deducting 25 from the red bag, but only 10 from the yellow bag. So the rest of the digits, the yellow digits remaining in this puzzle, must add up to 15 more than the red digits. So these yellow digits add up to 15 more than the red digits. Now, can we somehow use these little killer clues to help us with that? I'm just going to put these options in for this again. Let me take a stare at this. Whoopsie, made a mistake. There we go, 9, 8. So I know that I need to make the yellow digits higher than the... Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? Because I do actually know a little bit about these pairs of red and yellow digits. And I need to get a difference of 15. So what's the maximum I can make the yellow digits in... Yeah, okay, this is a bit awkward, isn't it? Because what I can't do is sort of do 2 and 3 in those squares, because that puts 1 and 1 in row 1. So I can't achieve as big a difference as I might like to, up at least at the top of the grid. Because I've always got to have a 1 in one of the red squares. I've always got to have a... Yes, okay, I've always got to have a 1 in a red square and 1 1 in a yellow square. Otherwise, I'll have 2 1s in one colour, and there'll be that digit will repeat in one of these rows. So the only thing that can give me a positive difference towards my yellow squares count is if the yellow digit is a 3. So that needs to be a 3. That will be a 1. That will be a 1, and that will be a 2, and that's the best difference I can achieve in yellow's favour, and it only gives me a count of 1. So now I've got to deal with 14 for the remaining yellows and reds, and down at the bottom we're going to have the same problem, aren't we? I've got to put 2 9s in these squares, but I mustn't put them in the same colour. So the best I can do in terms of difference is going to be if I put the 8. I'm going to have to put the 8 in yellow and the 7 in red. So that gets me another difference of 1. So now we're at a count of 13. So the absolute best I can do is to require these 2 yellow digits to be 13 better or higher than these 2 red digits. Anything else I do is going to make these have to be even higher than that. Now I can, this is interesting because I can max these out at 9 and 8, look. So that would mean these 2 digits have to be... that can't be... That must be 3, and that's the lowest it can be, and 3 and 1, this is brilliant. So 3 and 1, so that's it. That's how the puzzle looks, because it's the only way that will work. That's literally the only way you can achieve a difference of 15 from between these yellow cells and these red cells, given what Finnish guy has, the clues that are in this puzzle. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely... I'm just going to check it as well because I'm not sure I trust it. 17 and 6 is 23. So I require these to add up to 38, and they do. I can see it immediately. Good grief. Good grief. That's just amazing, isn't it? That is just amazing. So, right, so now we should go... Well, now what do we do now? Do we go back to our old grid, or do we stay with this grid? Let me just see. I'm tempted. No, I think I'm going to come back to this one. So let's look. We've got to put 2, 3 and 1 in there, which makes that 3, that 1. Let's go back here again. We've got to put 9 and 8 in the middle row in this specific order. So that means that's 8, that's 9, that's 7, that's 9. And I think that's all of the perimeter cells that we were entitled to learn about. So now, yeah, here we go. I can't put 3 in that 7 cage anymore, so that's not a 3-4 cage, it's a 2-5 cage. That's some breaking. That is some breaking. Now, this cage can't have a 9 in it now. So that's 5, 8. And if it's 5, 8, it's in a very specific order, look. Or 6, 7. This 12 cage can't be a 5, 7 anymore, so if it's 8, 4, it's got to be this way. Otherwise, if it's 3, 9, it's got to be this way because of this 3. This is still not working though, is it? It's still not working. I still don't know what n is. So, how do we work out what n is? We've got 11 in that row. So these squares have got to add up to 34. Right, well that is a bit limiting. Okay, n is at least 10. If you look at this row, it's very interesting. You've got 4 cells that add up to 11, but the row as a whole, because of the secret, adds up to 45. So the gaps here, these 5 cells, must add up to 45 minus 11 is 34. Now if I max these out, which I think I can do, I think I could put 7, 8, 9 triple into those squares. That's 24, and that means that this must be at least equal to 10. So now, but if it did equal 10, 20, 37. Okay, right, now look at the central row. Because we've got 17 plus 10 plus 10, that's 37 at a minimum, because n must be at least 10. So that means these 3 squares add up to at most 8. Which means there must be a 1 in them, which means there's a 1 in one of those 2 cells. And I don't know what to do with that. Have I missed some Sudoku or something? Is there something... What on earth am I meant to do with this puzzle? Or maybe we've just got to persevere with this. So if n is 10, these add up to 8. If 10 is 11, these add up to 6. So n is 10 or 11. Okay, that is useful. N can't be higher than that because I can't make those 3 squares add up to less than 6 because the minimum they could be would be a 1, 2, 3 triple. So n is 10 or 11. N is 10 or 11. So there's a virtual 6, 7 pair in this row. Because the way you can make 10 is what you can't do is that. So these 2 cages must contain the 6 and the 7 in this row. So they contain the 6 and the 7. So the other digits, yeah, we already knew this, the other digits are from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That can't be 2, that can't be 3, and that can't be 1. Now, I suppose we definitely know there's a 2 in here, don't we? Is that right? If there was, we can't put 2 into a cage. Yeah, in this row, if you put 2 in a cage, the maximum I can add it to is 7, and that will only get me to 9, and I need to get to 10 or 11. So there is definitely a 1 and a 2 in this triple. I don't really know how to pencil mark that, but it is true. Well, that can't be the 2, so there's definitely a 2 in one of these cells. Okay. What does that mean? So I suppose... Oh no, I was about to say we can't put a 1 here, but we can put a 1 here if we pair it up with a 9. So we have to find some way of limiting n a bit further. I would love to know what n is. That n must have a 4 in it, mustn't it? Because it can't have 1, 2, 3 or 5. So if it didn't have a 4 in it, it would be a 6 plus a 7, which is 13, which is too many. So there's a 4 in this n. So that means that there's a 4 in one of those two cells, which means this square is not a 4. This is very cool. So this is either 4, 6 or 4, 7, which means these are either 4, 6 or 4, 7. Which means that we're sort of almost doing this. 9 in this row and 8 are now a bit restricted. So 9 has to be in one of those squares. 8 has 3 options still. 7. I wonder if we can do the same thing. So there's got to be a 6. Right, so these two dominoes here, they definitely contain 6 and 7 in some order. So the other digits that need to accompany, this is not going to work, is it? That's not going to limit these digits. Because if it's 11, this is going to be 5, 6 and 4, 7. Leaving 1, 2, 3 here, which we've already said is possible. And if it's 6, 4 and 3, 7, we're going to need 1, 2, 5 here. And that doesn't seem to be restricted. So somehow, we know there's a 9 in one of those 3 cells. Maybe it's Sudoku I need to do. If this is a 9, this is a 1 or a 2. Oh, or what it could be is I haven't even thought about Kropki dots. I've just noticed this digit is a 7 because it can't be a 9. So that's not a 7. And if that's not a 7, it doesn't actually tell us what this digit is. But maybe in more Kropki dots we can do stuff with. Let's just have a quick think about that. We've got a Kropki dot there. This is a Kropki dot attaching to this digit. Although I don't think that's very restricted. If that's 7, that has to be 6. If it's 6, that could be 7 or 5. I'm not penciling that. That's too many options. Is there always a 4 in one of those two cells? That might be true. Because we know those 3 digits either add up to 6, which is 1, 2, 3, or 8, which has to be 1, 2, 5, because we know that there's a 1 and a 2 outside of the ends. So there is always a 4 in there, which means those two squares are not 4. How annoying. It doesn't do anything. I don't think it does do anything. Oh dear. So okay. Sorry I can't quite see where the next deduction is. I don't think we're that far away, but I think we've got to... I know that there's definitely either... that's it. Yes, got it. Okay, I've been being silly. The key is this 7, isn't it? Because this 7 is looking at those two squares, which are the same as these two squares. So I know that this domino does not have a 7 in it, because if it did, those would be 7 as well. So that must be a 6 domino. And it must be... So it's either 6 and 4 or 6 and 5. And that propagates, of course, around all of these coloured dominoes. So this forces that. That's no longer 9. Now, is that helpful? It's very close to being helpful. Is it helpful enough? I know now that There's definitely a 6 in every one of these. There's now definitely a 7 in here, and 7 must accompany 3 or 4. Which... oh, come on, it feels like it must be about to crack now. We've almost got a sort of triple going on in this column. Can we... still can't see how to do it though. What about... I don't know where to look. What about this row? What are the digits we've not yet pencil marked in this row? Well, we've not pencil marked 3, which must be in either this cell or this cell, either of which would be interesting. And we've not pencil marked 7, which can't be here, so 7 is in one of those two. Or maybe it's this column. I haven't actually thought about column 5 at all. We know that this is either 10 or 11, so if that was 23, that would be the minimum it could be. Then, so the absolute minimum these 6 cells can be would be 23, 24, and that would require these cells to equal 21. And that's actually very easy to do. If we max these out, on the other hand, and we go 11, 11, 5, 3 and 5, we'd have 30, and these would have to equal 15, and that's even easier. So I don't think column 5 is the way that we're going to resolve world affairs here. I've got a 4, 5, 6 here on a Kropki dot. So that square is still no good, I don't think. I think it literally can be 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. What am I missing? Oh, I'm sorry about this. I feel like we're missing something very fundamental. Okay, I've got a Kropki dot here, a Kropki dot here, a Kropki dot there. It's not Sudoku, is it? In this, oh, there's got to be a 7 in one of those two squares. Maybe it is Sudoku. I've really neglected my Sudoku, so perhaps that's what I've got to just do a little bit of here. 1 is in one of these squares. 8 can be here, can't it, I think? I know there's a 4 in there, so that knocks a 4 out of the 13 cage, but that's fine. I've already knew that there was no 4 in there because there couldn't be a 9 in there. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. It's this little blinking cage, isn't it? That can't be a 6, 7 cage, because accompanying the 4 in this domino, there must be a 6 or a 7. That's really clever. Fair play. Fair play. That just outfoxed me. So that's 8, 5. Now, does that do it? This 5 now comes out of here. Oh, that's so beautiful. Good grief. That is so clever. Look, that 5 now forces both colours of purple and green to be 4 and 6. So now we know n. n is 10. That is absolutely beautiful. Wow. Wow. So this is 3. That's 9. So there's a 9 in one of those. If it was there, that would be an 8. 4, 6 here means that has to be, whoopsie, that's got to be a 3, 7 pair. So we can take 3 out of here and 3 out of here. So this becomes 1, 2, 5, which is fair enough, I suppose. 5 here means that can only be a 1, apparently. So let's do that. So now we've got a 2, 5 pair remaining in row 5. We know, do we? Yeah, we can't put 3 in here, it seems. yeah, we know there's a 4 in there, and we know it's an N, so it must be a 4-6 pair, which means this must be a 4-6 pair. Oh, so that's cool. So actually, it was the case that blue and orange were actually equal to purple and green. We just never actually appreciated, or I didn't appreciate it until right now. So this column still needs 7 and 2, no, not 7 and 2, 7 and 3. Yes, so where does 3 go in this column? It's got to go at the bottom. 7 goes at the top. So this row needs 5 and 7. We can fill those in. So 7 goes here, 5 goes here, 2 goes here, 5 goes here. And is that enough? I feel like it is. I do really feel like it's about to crack now. 9 you can actually place in box 1. It's got to go there. 9 we can place in box 2. That's presumably limiting our possible values for n, which can't be 4, not n, but I mean, how do we get to this being a 10 domino? It's got to be a 2, 8 now. It's the only option left. 1, 9, 3, 7 and 4, 6 are all ruled out. And that means we can place a 1 at the bottom of the column, which gives us a 2 and a 1 here. So this 2 perhaps? No. Kropki dots? Ah, there's a Kropki dot here. That square has got to be a 3 or a 7, look, because it can no longer be a 5, and it has to be odd because it's connected to an even. Ah, it's a 3-7 pair in this box now then. So what do we need to place in this box? We need to place 1s, 2s, 8s and 9s. So 2 must be in one of those 2 cells. 1s, 2s, 8s and 9s. I'm not sure we can do better than that. I sort of feel like we should. No. If this was a 2, that would have to be a 3. That would. No, this can't be a 2 because that can't be 1 or 3. So we get a 2 over here. We get a 2 in one of these squares. Now, if this was a 2, this would have to be a 3, which would be a very useful 3. I don't think we can rule that in or out at the moment. What about this box then? So this box, we've not placed 1s, 9s and 5s. I'm going to just label that fully and just see what I can eliminate. So this cell has to, well, this can't be 5 because it would have to connect to 4 and 6, both of which are not available. So that's 1 or 9. If it's, so this square is 2 or 8. Oh, beautiful. So now there's a 2-8 pair in the middle. And now we know those 2 squares have got to be a 1-9 pair out of virtually nowhere. So 1 can be placed in box 2. 9 can be placed in box 8. We got anything better that going on in this column? I sort of feel like we nearly do. No, I'm not spotting it. How about, where should we look now? What's the simplest way of doing this puzzle? That cell is very simple because it's a naked single. It can only be 8, right? That would have been an easier thing to spot quite quickly, wouldn't it? Same in this column. So one of these 2 squares is 8 now. Oh, I'm making a right dog's breakfast of this. I can't see at all what the next digits are. Perhaps it's this row. Oh yeah, look, yeah, there's a 159 triple I've only just spotted and a 4-6 pair. So that must have a counterpart here, which is a 3 or a 7. Aha! So that gives us a pair in this box and means these squares are 4s, 5s and 6s to complete the box. Don't seem to be able to eliminate anything from that, but this being a 3-7 means this square is either 2, 4, it's even, or 6. It can't be 8. So that's 2, 4 or 6. It's not. Oh, that's so cool. This Kropki dot is so cool because there's a 4-6 pair in row 7. So that's a 2. So which means that's a 3, that's a 7, that's a 3. Okay. Now that means that's a 7 and that's on another Kropki dot, so that's a 6, that's a 4. We now know green is 6. So we can double click green and fill 6s in, double click purple and fill 4s in. I'm sort of expecting that to unwind all of the blues and oranges as well, but maybe it won't. So there's now a 4 down here. What about 6s? Can we do anything useful with 6s? There's one in one of those 2 squares. Still don't know. Okay, what about these squares? So they are 4, 6 and 7 in some order. 4, 6, 7. Get rid of... so that's a naked single 7 apparently. It sees 4 and 6. And this 7 does diddly squat, but the 4, 6 might do something. No. Alright, this row. Come on, this row. You can do it. 1s, 3s and 8s. Yes, so that's a naked single 1. This is a 3-8 pair. The 3 can only go in this cell. I took the pencil mark of an 8. Those 2 squares are 3 and 5, which we can also do. Oops, oops, oops. I nearly made a ricket. And that square should be a 2 to complete that row and that box, and that looks like it's working. So finally, I think we're on the right track. So we've got a 4, 6 pair up here. Somehow these 4s and 6s are still resisting us. We've got a 2, 5, 7 triple at the top of that column. That's not 2. We don't know about this one. And at the top of this column, look, we've got to place 4, 6s and 7s into those squares. And this square's got to be 2. That's only 5 or 8. Right, where's the next Kropki dot to help us? That's what we need. That's what we need. This must... It's still resisting. Okay, alright, well let's do it slowly then. There's a 4, 5, 6 triple in this column. So that is, I think, forced to be an 8. And therefore this is a 3. That 8 is lovely, so that does those digits, which does this digit, which is a Kropki dot, so that does the 1s and 9s around the middle. That 2 does the 5 and the 2 here. So that's all good stuff. This 5 means we have to place 8 here. And this digit in the corner is a 5. And that's a very important 5, look, because it does me a 5 there, which I'm very appreciative of, and a 5, 7 over here, which means this is a 7, and I've just left with a deadly pattern of 4s and 6s, which must be resolved by something. But let's just tidy up our pencil marks while I'm trying to work out. Yes, it's this Kropki dot. Look, that's what resolves everything else. So orange becomes 4, blue becomes 6. 4s and 6s go in, 6, 6, 4, and that's absolutely brilliant. That is a brilliant puzzle. Good grief. That's really clever. I loved the use of set to break into that, because it wasn't just straightforward set. We really had to think hard, even after we found the right set, about how it interacted with the digits around the grid, the little killer clues. And the cage totals as well. It was very original. And even after that, it wasn't that straightforward. I think once we then had to think quite hard about 6 4s and 6 5s and 7 3s and 7 4s. And I think if you did that in a better order than I did, you could probably get that part done fairly quickly. But as ever, I seem to choose the least efficient option. But we did it logically, and for that I am grateful. And I'm certainly grateful to Finish Guy for setting such a beautiful puzzle. So thank you for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.